Hello, Panache.
Hi, Lilou. How are you?
Very good. What a wonderful moment. What a wonderful moment to spend this time together. I'm excited.
Oh,
Thank you.
it's great to be here with you, and I'm a fan of all of your wonderful work and all the lives that you touch across the world. So it's the honor is mine.
Oh
Thank you for
my
having me.
goodness. I'm honored that you say this. Of course, I've heard a lot about your work, and I know you're traveling all around the world. You're a growingly known spiritual teacher out there, and people seem to really love your vibration, your lovingness, and more than ever, this world seems to need exactly that.
We're just here to have a lot of fun, and ultimately access that greater potential that's lived inside of us. Everyone that's watching, you're not broken, you're not a mistake. You're actually brilliant. You're magnificent. It's just that the world hasn't provided you access to that. We haven't looked for that inside of ourselves. And so for me, I just get to be myself and have a lot of fun and just love people and just love them so profoundly that they can't help but just love themselves. And in that moment, there's a profound shift that happens. All of a sudden, they start attracting more money into their lives. They become healthy and vital. They start living this experience that they know has always been possible, but they've been unable to experience. They become healthy, wealthy, and sexy, Lilou. That's what happens.
Juicy, as I like to call it.
Yeah, that's right. Juicy. They start living that juicy life.
Yeah, because how do you explain that? From my understanding, once we start aligning with our soul and our soul work and living from the heart unconditionally, things just naturally start to happen. Is that what you describe?
That's exactly right. We're all basically professionally qualified to be ourselves, and there's a reason why we are ourselves. And the more we work in alignment with who we are, how we think, how we feel, how we've been brought up, our belief systems, our ideologies, and our experiences, the more we begin to understand the blessing in being who we are, and the more we begin to accept that, and the more we begin to love that. Sadly, we incarnated into a planet where people don't fully love and accept themselves. And so often the message that we get is judgment, or you need to improve, or you need to be different, or you need to, in some way enhance who you are. And that's not it at all. What takes a person from ordinary to extraordinary is they give up the conflict, the internal struggle that they have to being themselves. And in that moment, something extraordinary happens. That light of their soul, that brilliance, that magnificence, that luminosity that has always dwelled within them begins to shine forth. And then everything that they need begins to appear in their reality. And so it's more of a question of just relaxing into who we are, because we are magnificent. Every single one of you is a blessing. And it's time to realize the blessing that you are.
And I love your quote that you have on your site mentioning how important it is to be authentic and vulnerable. Tell us more about that, and what kind of process is that?
Well, for me, I've had the pleasure of supporting people vibrationally. And so in the vibrational realm, there's no judgment. There's nothing to attain. There's just complete love and acceptance. And when we can bring that love and acceptance into aspects of our psyche, traumatic moments that we've had, when we can begin to bring that into every facet of our experience, we begin to open up that greater vibrational potential. And so I've really just had the pleasure of sharing a message of love and acceptance, which is really all the divine does. It just loves and accepts you. Why? Because you're brilliant. And you were created to be the way that you are, right? And so the more we move into that, and the more we embrace these denser, heavier energies of sadness or fear or anger, and the more we can just accept them as a part of life, the more energy gets freed up, the more vitality we have. We vibrate higher. We create a higher vibrational set point, and then all of a sudden, everything that we've always desired and dreamed of just effortlessly begins to appear, and life becomes juicy. And so that's the shift. There's a point where you kind of just give up. There's a point where it's like you've done everything. You've read every book. You've gone to every workshop. You've done every seminar. You've done everything. And eventually one day you'll just fall over, absolutely exhausted. And in that moment, the clarity will arise. Wow, what I've been looking for is me. What I've been wanting to experience is myself. And everything that I've been looking for really is inside of me. Now let's start to get on board with who Lilou is. And let's start to be in alignment with who Lilou is, and let's find out who Lilou is, and why Lilou is the way she is, and why she gets upset, and why she has all those moments, because none of it is a mistake. And the more we get in that flow, and we appreciate who we are, the more we begin to love the one we're with, because you're always with Lilou, the more, the more that expression begins to expand out into the world, and then you start touching other people's lives.
Mm.
And, and that's a pivotal shift. As I've gone back throughout history and studied individuals, that's a pivotal shift that so many great individuals who have transformed our collective experience of being human have gone through. There came a singular moment where they just fully embraced themselves, where they recognized that who they were was enough, and that everything that they wanted was within them. And so it's been great. It's been awesome to just offer people fully back to themselves and to give them a way tangibly to live the life of their dreams.
And most of the time we see the ego. Is that really the ego just kicking in and holding us from experiencing ourselves? Like if we were gonna find something really bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because right now it's like the ego is trying to fix the ego, because it's only the ego that believes you're broken, right? Or you're less than, or there's something wrong with you. Your soul isn't having those conversations. Your soul is just vibrating infinite awesomeness, right? And so it's your ego that's going, oh, if only you could read more. Or if only you meditated for an hour and a half every day, if only you could if only, if only, if only, if only, if only, right? But the ego is not your enemy. The ego is your friend. And when you can start embracing your ego and accepting your ego and understanding that that allows you to individually be Lilou in this infinite ocean of oneness, it's your ego that allows you to express yourself uniquely. How brilliant is that? And so when you start embracing your ego and understanding its function, it becomes your friend. And then it works with you and for you in your life instead of against you. And so the key is acceptance. All right, I have an ego. Cool, I have an ego. Let's embrace the fact that I have an ego, right? Great, I'm judgmental. Excellent. Let's embrace the fact that I'm judgmental. I can sometimes be critical. Let's embrace the fact that I can be critical. Because guess what? There are 7.2 billion people who experience the same thing, right? Oh, I can feel sad. Great. I can feel angry. Great. And so the shift is into authentically experiencing our humanity. Because there's nothing wrong with our humanity. That's the gift. That's the blessing. That part of us that we're trying to get rid of is the blessing. And when it's embraced, something amazing occurs. I've seen it. I've seen it in tens of thousands of individuals all over the world. And at first they're like, what do you mean it's okay for me to love myself? How dare you? It's like, what do you mean it's okay? The world's told me that it's not okay. I have to change these things, and I have to get over these things, or I have to compensate for these things, or I have to overcome them. No, you don't. No, you don't. You just need to embrace them and accept them as a part of you. And then your finances improve, and then your health improves, and then your relationships improve. And then all of a sudden you start experiencing this unconditional love that the divine has for you.
So
You are,
each, yes, go for it. I feel like you're gonna say something very juicy, so go ahead. Sorry.
oh, go ahead, go.
No, I was gonna say. So each time there is those things that pop, we just stop and embrace that, and like it's okay. Just every single moment it comes up.
That's right. I always say to people, just stop, take a breath, and chill out. Just stop, take a breath, chill out, and then leave yourself alone. Just step away from Lilou, right? It's okay, right? If you have a moment of anger, instead of all of a sudden getting involved in the anger, trying to fix the anger is actually a really beautiful vibrational experience. For me, it's the closest thing to experiencing a volcanic eruption in the body that you can have, right? All of a sudden this energy goes off and it shoots through the body. Now, when you recognize it as a vibrational experience, it becomes blissful. And also then you don't have to act it out, right? Sadness is a blessing. I love crying. It's great. Salty water runs down your cheeks and you can make it mean whatever you want, right? It's great. You can't do it in any other dimension. You can't feel fear in any other reality. So all of these things are blessings. And the more we develop that relationship with them and just stop, slow down, it's okay. It's all right. You're okay. You're all right. And the more you can feel, the more those energies just wash through us. Because what if your sadness doesn't want to be inside of you as much as you don't want it inside of you? What if your sadness, every time you start crying, your sadness is like, woohoo, freedom, let's go. She's crying. Let's go, quick, right? But all of a sudden the judgment kicks in, right? Or you try and stop it. Oh, I shouldn't be crying. And all of a sudden the flow stops. And I'm like, oh God, we had our moment, boys, but it's gone now, right? And so it's the same thing with anger. It's the same thing with fear. All of these things are experiences, and
Mhm.
we are experiential beings.
A lot of
Yeah.
people fear to not have enough money or they lose their job. What is your view on abundance and money, and what can we do when we just have no more money and not able to fulfill our dreams and move forward? It can be very devastating and hard at times. I went through that phase,
Yeah.
and I shared it in my books. And I would love to have your point of view on that and abundance, because it's a big concern for a lot of people, and they think we cannot follow our spiritual path because of that.
I've actually shifted the focus of what we're doing a lot actually on that, because I've realized that if people are surviving, they can't focus their energies on everything else that they want to focus their energies on. And so we've been blessed in the fact that vibrational transformation has elevated people out of surviving and maintaining into thriving. And the more we vibrationally move beyond, the fear and the collective conversation that the world's having, and the more we start trusting in our innate, infinitely abundant nature, which, oh, by the way, nothing around you questions it, right? The grass doesn't question it. That's why cows don't go to abundance workshops, right? They're, they're never worried about running out of grass, are they? No,
No.
they're just happy. They know. So nothing in our reality questions this principle other than us.
Mhm.
Well, if it's true for nature, and it's true for the universe, and it's true for everything in all of creation, then why isn't it true for us? And so it's time to start informing that truth and living from that truth. And also, unplugging from that fear vibrationally, moving beyond that fear, experiencing it. It's okay, great. That's the conversation that the world's having. But you know what? We're infinite beings. We have an infinite potential. And there's an ability to act. I could tell you a story. There's a couple that came to see me. They'd gotten pregnant for the second time. And the wife wasn't working, and the husband was a painter, but he hadn't had any work for a long time. And he came to one of the workshops that we did, Igniting Boundless Receiving. And within 5 days, he called me and he said, Panache, he said, can you please stop it? I said, stop what? He said, my phone is ringing off the hook. He said, there are so many people calling me for work. He said, I can't even keep up with it all, right? He said, you got to stop it. I said, I can't stop it. I said, you've asked for it, right? You've set this abundance, you've accessed this principle, and now it's coming into your reality so powerfully. And another great example is, we're all healers slash something else, right? We all know people who are healers slash something else because they can't support themselves through the healing alone. Well, one of my friends, she came to this Igniting Balance Receiving workshop, and all of a sudden, she got a phone call. And she said, oh, somebody called her and said, I'd like to buy a house that you have listed, because she's a healer slash realtor. And she said, oh, what house? She'd completely forgotten about the fact that she even had the listing. All of a sudden, she's getting people calling her, and all of the listings that she had as a realtor that she'd forgotten about, people want to buy those houses. So the abundance wants to come into your life. It wants to be a part of your experience. And you know what? Your being in and of itself is enough. You don't need validation from anyone else. You, your breath, who you are, is all you need to get your access infinite abundance path.
Mhm.
And so it's funny, Lilou, because I've been tackling that exact same thing. Because I want people to flourish. I want people to live that. I want people to have a life that works.
Yeah,
In
and that
every
they know that they can access it by themselves too, because this is a big conversation right now with, the gurus and all of that. And I know you don't really see yourself as a master, as somebody that I guess you want to. How do you see yourself really actually in this process?
Well, I don't really have a role. My only problem is I'm Indian, so everyone wants to do something with me. So kind of helps, but it kind of gets in the way too, because it's like everyone's previous experience of people who are Indian and in a spiritual capacity kicks in, right? So for me, it's like, oh, I'm just your friend. I just love you. There's no hierarchy. Ultimately, I'm grateful for everything that those gurus and teachers have done. But ultimately, this is an age now of self-empowerment. And we need to really listen to everything that they've been saying and put it into practice, because they've all shared the same message. The divine's within you. They've all said that. And now it's time for us to get the message and apply it and to utilize it. It's like in Christianity, say, with God, all things become possible. Well, when you embrace that you're the source of infinite possibility, everything becomes possible. There is nothing that you cannot do. I mean, you're a living example of this. You've traveled the world. your dream has touched the lives of millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
You, and following that greater principle, no matter how hard it may have gotten, you've made a difference on this planet that only you could make, and you're only just starting. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So
By being ourselves, by being myself, I was able to just follow that path and the guidance, and I do feel we're put on the way, and we have the full support of the divine, of the universe, when we do so.
that's right. So for me, I've only ever been myself. And I love, and that's all I can be. I
Mm-hmm.
can't do it the way others have done it. I can't conform to those rules and regulations. I'm just panache. That's it. So
And now you're living in the US, because I know you grew up in the UK, and you move quite a lot too, and you travel the world and do conferences and web seminars. And I know Carol Miller that put us in touch. You're organizing a big event together for the 12-12-12. So I
yeah.
mean, having all these experience, and knowing that we're right now in November, let's say 2012, because this video will be posted in a few days, and we're approaching this famous date 21-12-2012. How do you feel about all this?
I'm excited. I see it as an incredible opportunity to vibrationally elevate who we are into the next octave. And what that means is even more is going to become possible. So just get in touch with how juicy your life is now, and then times that by 1 billion, and maybe you'll get close, right? And so
No.
yeah, and so this vibrational infusion that's coming in is elevating us all and wanting us all to access the fullness of who we are, and that's why I'm having the gathering. I've asked for 720 people. That's all it takes. 720 people who are ready to fully be themselves and access their birthright to show up on behalf of humanity, to represent the 7 point. I'm hoping you can come. It'd be so much fun, to access to be that on behalf of 7.2 billion.
Why
Because we
not?
can shift it. We can shift it. We can. We really can. And it just takes that empowerment and that beingness to do it. And we can do it. Every single one of you has that power. You've meditated, you've read the books, you've done the workshops, you've studied techniques and modalities. Every single one of you is an extraordinary contribution to consciousness. Just imagine if we all got together and got in that vibrational resonance, how exponentially that would vibrate out into our reality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it makes me just want to jump out my seat when I start thinking about it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so, and that's just one event, but this is an extraordinary time.
Mm-hmm.
It's the end of the fear. It's the end of the separation. It's the end of you and I seeing each other and being afraid of each other. It's the beginning of you and I seeing each other and go, Lulu, I love you. Where have you been? Thank you for being such a beautiful embodiment of the divine, right? That's where we're going, and it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a very, very, very exciting time.
Yeah,
So don't panic.
for the people that are all around the world, wherever they are, where and even during that event, where the focus should be. Is there a line of thoughts, or an affirmation, or a vibration, or a place in the body, or something that you recommend?
I would say that the focus is celebration. Just absolutely celebrate your life. And every single one of you has at least one thing to be grateful for. You woke up this morning, right? When you get up, you see your wife, you see your children. Get into that celebration. Because what we're doing is we're beginning a new cycle in our evolution. And we're beginning a new planetary cycle, as a species, as human beings. And so let's start how we mean to go on. Let's start with celebration. Let's start with peace. Let's start with love, because then we'll be ensured that for the duration of the rest of our experience. And so put on your favorite rock song. Put on that piece of music that makes you smile. Hug someone. Do whatever you do to connect. Get out in nature, whatever that is, folks, on that day. Do whatever makes your heart sing, and dedicate that day to honoring and loving yourself. Because the entire universe and all of creation will be celebrating you and the
Mm-hmm.
extraordinary progress that you've made in making this greater shift possible.
Is that on the 12-12-12 as that gathering is taking place, or on the 21-12-2012?
Well, for me, 12-12-12 is probably the more important date.
Mm-hmm.
I've just felt naturally guided to get together for every one of those harmonic gateways, 10-10-10, 11-11, 12-12. And so for me, that's the important date. And so that's why we're getting together from the 7th through the 10th, so that people are ready and prepared and just lit up and juicy, healthy, wealthy, sexy, just vibrating out of their freaking minds with pure awesomeness. so that when that energy rolls around, they're ready and receptive, you know. And so, and you know, people are pointing to 12, 21, 12, but 12, 12, 12 is the major shift in the major doorway that's opening. And so I'm serious. I hope you can make it. It'd be
Yeah,
so.
it's totally possible. And the vibration, sometimes when when we meet a teacher or we go to those events, we feel really high and there's this vibration that we keep, and then within days or weeks later it kind of, it's not exactly the same. Is that something that you think will happen this time?
No, what's happening is that because people are actually authentically integrating what I call their density, so their fear and their sadness, they sustain and maintain that vibration. So they'll come to a workshop, and then what happens is they'll either fully embrace their magnificence, or everything that they have to feel to fully embody their magnificence begins to arise. But every time they vibrationally leap, they sustain it. And that's the cool part. And they also recognize that they did it. And then they remember that they can do it to themselves. And the more people are empowered in that, and the more they have fun doing it, and the more they embody that, the more they begin to grow in the trust of it. You know, first you have to know it's possible. Then you have to ultimately have it unfold within you so that you can trust in it. And when you can fully trust in it, then it becomes a way of being. Then it becomes as normal as breathing. And there are so many individuals who have gone through that shift, Lilou, and now they are just self-contained units of vibrational possibility out in the world. Just because. Just because. It's extraordinary.
Mm.
Yeah.
And tell us about your kind of awakening or the big thing that happened in 2003 for you.
2003, I had a direct experience of what we call the divine. Prior to that, I was a reluctant messenger. I didn't want to be out in the world. I didn't want to share anything. You know, when people were having experiences, I just thought I was strange. It was completely out of the context of who I knew myself to be, and I wanted no part of it. So 2003, I had this experience of just this infinite energy with no beginning and no end. And this energy was just vibrating pure love, but beyond any definition of love. Like even the most ecstatic poet saint couldn't describe this love. And I was completely loved just for being me. I didn't need to do anything. I didn't need to change anything. There was no part of myself that needed to be different. I was just completely embraced for who I was. And in that moment, everything shifted. I couldn't deny it anymore. I'd had a direct experience of it. And also the ability to allow that resonance and frequency to flow through me also opened up. And it's that greater presence that facilitates the shift in people, because there is a soul level recognition. Like it's no accident that you and I are here. And it's no accident that people who are going to watch this video are going to be drawn to it, because we're a family. We're all coming back together again. And how we find each other is because we love each other. And we've all loved each other before. And it's like a homing beacon that brings us all together. And now more and more, everyone's being called together again, so that we can facilitate this greater shift. And so that awakening, or that moment, was necessary for me so that I can, you know, sit in front of a camera when I'm webcasting and reach 10,000 people and look them in the eyes and tell them that they're not broken, because they're not. And you know what? That no matter how hard their life has been, to not give up hope, because they're supported, and there's a greater possibility around the corner. And that no matter what you've gone through, in a single moment, you can make the leap from ordinary to extraordinary. You can break free of the gravitational pull of fear, and you can transform your entire life. And I know that because I went through it. And I know that because I've seen so many tens of thousands of people all around the world go through it.
By simply embracing moment to moment, whatever comes up in loving, harmonious.
That's right. And also, you know, what happened was, all of a sudden, once I had that experience, you know, I would just be called to touch people, and they'd start crying, or they'd start shaking out all their fear, or all their anger would come up. And I'd just be like, oh my God, like I'm completely weird. That's it. So, you know, all these things would happen. People would tell me the whole life story, right? And but they'd leave different. They'd leave glowing. And so this greater shift began occurring around me. And it's a vibrational shift that's occurring now that's facilitating this. You know, we're evolving vibrationally. And that's why I call it vibrational transformation, because it's exactly what it is. You know, those denser, heavier energies are just embraced and integrated, and we're accelerated through them so that we can fly, you know, so that we can be juicy, you know.
I can't help but ask you because I'm sure we've asked you that question. But regarding Maitreya, the avatars, and all this, do you relate to that? Do you associate with it? Do some people even said, "Oh my God, you're Maitreya because you're Indian. You were born in the UK, or I don't know if you were, but you were there." I mean, how you're talking about the love, the embracing, all those messages. How do you deal with those associations? How is that in your life? Is that present?
I would say to people that we're all the avatars, and I would say to people that we're all the answer and the solution that we've been looking for. As far as it relates to me, I guess time will tell. By the end of my life, we'll know. But I don't get hung up on those things. I just, I'm just myself, and I'm just living my life, and I'm just navigating my experience in the way that I am.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say to people that you're the avatars, every single one of you, that we're a family, and that all of these things that we look to outside of ourselves are just manifestations of our infinite magnificence. And so it's good to look there. It's good to look in that place. But I have heard that before, and people have asked me that question before, and but ultimately we'll see. It's an individual's life, and the contribution they make is what's important, not the titles and not the labels.
How do you start your day?
With gratitude. I just had twin baby girls, and so
Woo!
I get up like it's Christmas morning,
Yeah.
and I run to their bassinets, and I look at their faces, and I smile, and I'm like, girls, in 20 years, in 11 months, we're going to deliver you a planet in which people love and accept themselves totally. So Lilou, just letting you know, there's two little sweet angel faces, Indian, a little bit like mine, counting on you, babe. 20 years, 11 months. We need to deliver them a world where people love and accept themselves completely. And we can do it. We can do it.
By doing the work on ourselves, and then just there's really nothing to do if we're vibrationally aligned with that. Things unfold, things come to us. The main focus is that, right?
That's right. And the more you're in harmony with you, the people that you want to meet call you, right?
Yeah.
That's how mad wicked awesome it is.
Yeah.
Like someone will pick up the phone and say, "Hey, do you want to come to such and such place? Would you like to be on this TV show? Would you like to write a book? How can we publish your stuff?" They all call you because you're in a complete state of allowing. You're in harmony with yourself, and there is no greater power that's unleashed when you're in harmony with yourself. It's brilliant, Lilou. So I start my day with just sheer excitement. I'm just excited every day, as you can tell. I just get up in the morning, I'm like over the top, just happy,
And
just
and
happy.
and wars, wars, the economy, the problems, the financial collapse, or the tsunamis, the weather conditions, the problems, all of that. What do you feel about those?
Those are all things that are occurring because ultimately we haven't loved and accepted ourselves. So you have to have a complete breakdown of a system or structure in order to have a breakthrough. But the fact that these things are happening mean that we're on the verge of a breakthrough of magnificent proportions. And what I would say to people is that, just have a look inside of yourself where you have your own tsunami going on.
Mm-hmm.
Have a look inside of yourself where you have your own economic crisis. Where are you at war with yourself, right? So many people are at war with themselves. If they could divorce themselves, they would, right? And so it's time to resolve these things inside of ourselves because they're all a manifestation of the lack of internal integration we are experiencing as human beings. And so the more we can address these things inside of us, the less they will occur in our external reality. And so that's the place of power. It's very easy to get victimized by these things. It's very easy to get distracted by them. Nobody wants to live in a world where these things occur anymore. So end them inside of your world, and then they won't.
Thank you, Panache. What a moment, magnificent moment spent here with you. I love your name, of course. Panache in France means ta-da, the full vibration. I had to have panache, huh? Wonderful. This was really delicious. Thank you. And I'm excited. I know that you have a wonderful website, very self-explanatory with lots of seminars that you're doing and videos and audiobooks and all of that. And you're very much available and going around the world. So is there a last thing that you would like to say or share in this video?
Well, actually, I'd like to thank you, Lilou, for not giving up
You're
on your
welcome.
dream and and for and for continuing to travel, because I know sometimes it's hard, and I know sometimes you just feel like you're carrying all of that on your shoulders. But I just want you to know that everyone that's watching this is grateful for the fact that you didn't give up on yourself, you didn't stop believing in you, and you didn't give up on your dream. And in that same way, we all have that dream. And the more we believe in ourselves and the more we keep going, even in the midst of the no's or the lack of abundance in the moment, don't give up, folks. Don't second guess your magnificence, because those same seeds of greatness were planted in you, that were planted within every great human being. And Lilou's a living testament to that. It's an honor to be here with you, and you've touched my heart today, Lilou, just by being you. So thank you.
Thank you, Panache.
Yeah,
This was wonderful.
yeah, maybe you'll come to 12, 12, 12, and I can't wait to meet you in person. Give
I
you a
think
big,
it's a great idea.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Much, much love and blessing.